Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today is a special video that I'm filming in celebration of Mel W Scrapping reaching 1,000 followers. It's no mean feat on YouTube, and I'm thrilled that she's got there. She's a huge supporter of our community, so I really wanted to celebrate with her. Now, Mel has asked us just to scrap something we love, so this encompasses all of that, and I'll talk you through it as I go through. So I've pulled out Vicki Boutin's Bold and Bright collection, and this is a photo of the lady herself with myself, Julie and Jackie. Jackie and I, with the help of Julie Doyle, put on 2 workshops with Vicki Boutin this weekend in Birmingham, if you haven't watched my channel before, just to give you some background. And she arrived in Birmingham on Friday. Jackie, Julie and I set up the hall Friday morning, and then we went out with Julie Taylor for tea to a local pub. And this was after the meal. They had this lovely backdrop, if you like, with sunflowers and things that we thought we would take a selfie in. So that's what this photo is. It was printed 4x6 and then just trimmed down. There was a little bit of space on the right hand side that didn't need to be there. So it's probably 4x5.5-ish. So I've torn 5 strips. I wanted to use papers that enhance the colours in the photo. So I've gone for the greens, yellows and oranges that you see predominantly in the photo. Of course, Vicky's got that gorgeous red dress on, but I just wanted to focus on the background colours so that it would push the photo forward in the image. So I've just torn 5 strips. I didn't measure, and I've curled up the edges, cut off the ends of the paper, so they're probably about 9 inches wide, and I would guess about 1.5 inches deep. And I'm just staggering those, as you can see, and then I'm just going to glue them together, just overlapping one another, so that I can move them as a block and add some mixed media in the background. So this photo is of some girls that are very dear to me, and because Mel wanted us to scrap something we love, I thought that would be really appropriate. We had the most wonderful weekend with Vicki. She really is so giving in her time and energy and ideas. And it was a truly magical weekend that I wanted to document. So I've already scrapped a few photos this week. I promise that I will move on to something else soon, but I just really wanted to get these in my album while I still had all the feels and all the memories, so that I could write down my thoughts. So I'm just using a pencil to mark the corners of these papers, just so that I know exactly where to put my mixed media. And I've grabbed one of the new Hey Little Magpie stencils. This is geometric number 1. And now I'm going to use inks that coordinate with those papers that I put down. So this first green that I'm using is Mowed Lawn, and that goes really nicely with that lime green at the bottom. I don't have a huge number of greens. I'm sure there is a better green than this one, but it's close enough and it works really nicely on there. And then the second green, I'm going to use, I think it's pine needles that I use for the second strip. I look at evergreen bough, but it's too blue, it's too pale really. It doesn't work so well, so I end up grabbing this pine needles, and that works much better. So I've switched back to my green brush. I've only got one brush for each colour group really. I'm not too precious if they get mixed slightly. It's absolutely fine by me. So this stencil is brilliant because you can match up the pattern as you go, so it looks like a continual pattern. But obviously I'm moving the stencil about as I move up the page. I make a bit of an error with the next colour. This is Spice Marmalade, and I go over the green, which makes green and orange doesn't mix terribly well together. And then I realise I can use any section of that stencil to add the ink. It doesn't have to be the edges at all. So I go back and try and blend out that green a little bit more, and it does look much better. It looks ever so slightly muddy, but it's absolutely fine. So now the yellow is Fossilised Amber, and I'm just putting that above, and I am going to bring the papers back in just to check that the colours do more or less correspond with where the papers sit in that block. And I was just going off a little bit on the right, so I was pleased that I checked that, and I'm just adding a little bit more yellow to bring that up into the green. And then the green at the top, again, this caused me a little bit of problem. So I started with Rustic Wilderness, which is definitely too dark, but then I went over it with Mowed Lawn afterwards, and that worked really well. So blending those 2 inks was the answer for that top section. So almost there now. Just going to bring in that mowed lawn. I think it's mowed lawn. You can probably see it better on the screen than me. I work from my phone when I'm doing my voiceover, so it's quite a small screen that I'm looking at, and my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So there we go, that's the pattern block. And then I wanted to bring in my black soot to add some black splatters around it. It just really makes those colours more vibrant. So just watering down some black soot distress oxide and then splatting of that around the edges. And I do leave this to one side to dry before I carry on. So there, it's all dry now, and I can bring that block back in, glue it down and then carry on. Now I want to add some faux stitching across those strips of paper. So I'm going to be grabbing my In Stitches stamp set from Hey Little Magpie, and I'll just use the plain sort of running stitch stamp to add that stitching across each of these strips. So you can see there I brought in my T-square ruler. I just wanted to make sure that that top strip was straight across the page, because that meant that the whole block would be. So I'm going to map the photo onto white and then black cardstock just so that it stands out against all those other colours. And I will be putting this onto foam because obviously there's a lot of texture with where I've rolled up the edges of those papers. So just trimming down that white just so that it's a nice thin border, because I don't want this photo to get too big and take over the whole page. So just a thin border of white and then another thin border of black. There we go. So now, as I mentioned, foam pads just to get that stuck down. But I don't want to stick it down just yet because I do want to add that stamping. So here's my stamp set and my block, and I just, like I say, I just pull out that straight running stitch stamp, and I'm using once again my archival ink just so that if I do add more splatters afterwards, I don't in the end actually, but I always do this. If it's a feature item that I want to stay as it is and not bleed or blend into the background, I'll use a permanent ink rather than one of the oxide inks. So just going all the way down the page, you can see I'm turning the stamp round sometimes, and I'm lining them up against each other, sometimes overlapping a bit in the middle, just so that they're overlapping the ends of each of those strips so it looks like they've been stitched down. So last strip, and then I can add the photo and start embellishing. So the photo is going to sit there slightly to the left. I just thought it looked better. Most of us were looking to the right there, so I thought it looked good there. And then I decided I wanted to bring a few more elements into the background. So first of all, this branding strip. I absolutely adore this one with all the scalloped edge. So I just trimmed off a little bit of the black. There was a bit too much there for me, and then I'm just sticking that down. I couldn't be bothered fussy cutting all of those scallops, so just trimming off the black work there. And then because that was a nice thin piece of black paper, I thought I'd stick that down as well. So just gluing that down, and then I'm going to come in with 3 of the Hey Little Magpie dies. The bumpy border, I think this one's called, and I'm just going to pop that down there. I've just cut it out of black cardstock. It's just a scrap that I had left over that I keep on my desk. And then 2 of the mini scalloped borders, another one that's the same as that but much smaller, and then one that's just a small scallop. So there we go, and this one I'll tear in half. It's going behind the photo so I can stretch it out that little bit further, adding a larger piece to the right and then a smaller piece to the left. And then this one at the top. And after I've done this, I can stick that photo down. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I do it now. So while I'm doing this, please don't forget to check out the description box down below. I'll add a playlist of everybody who's joining in on this hop for Mel to celebrate her. And make sure you go and check out Mel's channel and give her some love. She lives in Tasmania. She's a delight to watch. She's so funny. She's got a very dry sense of humour. And I love seeing her videos pop up. So these are the 6x12 stickers. And I'm just adding some of them around the page. I don't end up using that hello cloud, but sometimes I just pop things down just to see if I'm going to use them or not. I definitely wanted to use those yellow flowers because of the yellow flowers on the backdrop. And I'm just looking through the foam stickers here and puffy stickers to see if there's anything else I can add. So on the foam stickers, I find this lovely banner piece that says at the end of the day, and it was the end of the first day, so I thought that would work really nicely. And I just like that title, Bold and Bright. I don't really know why, but I just thought that would be a nice title for this page. So that will be added to foam in due course, and it will sit on the right-hand side there. So I'm slowly starting to build up an idea of how I want my embellishments to go. So bottom left and bottom right of the photo, and then I'm going to build some up above those yellow flowers, and then a nice big cluster top left of the photo. So starting with this tab, that means that I can add my date. And then I've got a half ticket here. It said something on it, I think it said free, but that's going to be hidden anyway behind the tab. I just wanted it as another element up there. And then just going through to see what else I can find. I've got this tag, and I think that would be nice to add some string trailing down the left-hand side. So I just cut off the bottom bit because it's got a lovely scallop. So I'll definitely be able to use that on a future layout. And then this piece that says New Beginnings, and it really is New Beginnings. It's the first celebrity scrapper, really, that Jackie and I have brought across as nest box kits. And we've got so many exciting plans with Vicki, and potentially other scrappers as well. So that was really appropriate to put New Beginnings there. Just deciding where to put that tag. I was still floundering around a little bit, and I wanted this New Beginnings piece on an angle, but still to be able to read it. So just about got that cluster right now. So adding some glue to get that stuck down. And then this piece says, how you make others feel about themselves says a lot about you, and that's true of all these ladies. Like I say, they are very special. So it was nice to find that and add that down below. So that's just tucked underneath that scalloped piece. And then I found this gorgeous floral or stem. I don't know whether it's floral or berries or what, but it was yellow and green, so perfect for the colours that I'm choosing for this layout. So I've just popped that down there. Now off camera I did add some foam pads behind those yellow florals just to make the edges, the left hand edges, stand up. I kept the right hand edge flat to the page, but it just adds a bit of dimension there. And then I just wanted to add this little sunshine paint swatch to the right hand side, just for something for the title to sit on really. So here I am adding the foam to the title now. I decided it definitely needed to stand up at the same level as the photo. So I just take a little bit of time adding foam pads, and I use various sizes. I've got the lovely 25mm ones from Sticks 2, which is a British company, and then I've also got these little 5mm square foam pads again from Sticks 2. So just adding those to the smaller areas. And then that can be popped down, and it's going to sit just on top of that scalloped edge and over that card, and it just butts up against the side of the photo. So just putting off the backing now, and then I can get that stuck down. So if you're a Vicki Boutin follower, you'll know that tonight she's doing her walkthrough of her new collection, Mistletoe and Memories. So do check that out on her YouTube channel. I think it's 8 PM Eastern time. So it's about 1 o'clock in the morning here. So I don't know whether I'll be able to stay up and watch. I may have to watch on replay. So there's that twine that I was talking about. I just used some yellow twine through that tag. And then I've added a tiny bit of journaling across the bottom of the page just to say where we were and why we were there. And then of course my date on that tab at the top. And then I just wanted to go through some stickers and things to see if there was anything else I could add. So I find one little strip that says today was really, really good, and that's going to go under the title. I try in a couple of places, but under the title works the best. And then I find this little tab, which I just add to that cluster at the top. And you can see I've also added a Girl Power charm to that tag. I think that it might be one that Julie Taylor gave me actually, to use on Amelia's Taylor Swift concert photos, but I forgot. And I saw it in my little tin of charms and thought it would work really nicely on here. And then some little gold stickers, and then of course a bulldog clip, because it wouldn't be a Vicki Boutin layout without a gold bulldog clip, would it? And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations, Mel, again for hitting 1,000 subscribers. I'm thrilled for you, and it's an honour to be able to celebrate with you. Thanks again. Bye.